I'm Sara Brown, and this is The Mothers, real conversations with leaders, creators, and thinkers about who we are, what we want, and how we build meaningful lives alongside motherhood. Hello, everyone. I'm Sara Brown, and welcome back to The Mothers, the show about the work of raising people, building things, and trying to hold on to ourselves along the way. Our guest today is the CEO of one of my favorite companies, with a product that makes something complicated seem so easy and pleasant, I almost question if it's working. It is. Nafeesa Remtilla's story begins long before she took over Poppins Payroll, but seems like it has all gone according to plan, until maybe the plan had to evolve, as plans tend to have to do. Nafeesa grew up listening to cassette tapes called The Psychology of Winning. Her father played them in the car on the way to school and field hockey games. The message was clear. Set the goal, visualize the outcome, believe you can do it, mind over matter. It's a mindset that served Nafeesa extraordinarily well. She went to Dartmouth and Stanford Business School. She worked at Goldman Sachs and Bain, then joined Robinhood, where she rose to become vice president of product and operations. Today, she's at the helm of Poppins Payroll, a company that helps families manage payroll and taxes for their household employees and helps ensure that the caregivers holding up so many of our homes are treated, protected, and paid like the real employees they are. She is also the mother of 2 young children. And, as Nafeesa discovered, motherhood complicates the psychology of winning. Because mind over matter works best when the matter is actually within your control. You cannot control exactly when your baby will arrive, whether bedtime will go according to plan, or whether the norovirus will take you and your 2-year-old down while your husband is out of town. Motherhood, as Nafeesa puts it, shrinks the circle of what we can control. Our conversation is about what we do inside that smaller circle and how we learn to laugh at it, forgive, or simply release the rest. We talk about why high achievers devote so much energy to correcting their weaknesses when far more opportunity may come from understanding and harnessing their strengths. We talk about the woman in heels Nafeesa once imagined when she thought about having it all, and the spit up she discovered on her shoulder during her first meeting with Robinhood's CEO after maternity leave. We talk about childcare as the infrastructure beneath women's careers, motherhood as permission to lead with empathy, and the freedom that comes from defining success for ourselves instead of forever meeting someone else's standard. Nafeesa also shares one of the most practical transition rituals I have heard on this show. Before leaving work and entering the chaos of family life, touch a plant. Give it the work stress, mark the end of one role and the beginning of another, then walk through the door as mom. I have a plant. I will be trying this. I will report back. Before we begin, please take a moment to follow or subscribe to The Mothers wherever you listen. And if this conversation makes you think of someone, an anxious achiever, a working parent, or anyone who might need to ask themselves, what if it all actually works out? Please send it their way. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Mothers Pod. And now, please enjoy my conversation with Nafeesa Remtilla. Thank you so much for doing this in the middle of a busy life, work, home, all the things. And you're in San Francisco, so it's bright and sunny. And I don't know, we should be out climbing a mountain or something.
Let's do that another time.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to. We should come and hang out in person. I may have said this to you. I spent time in San Francisco for a while. I'm East Coast based, grew up here and came back here, but I had a very happy stint
when
in
you
San
were at
Francisco.
Google, right?
Actually, surprisingly, just before I started at Google, I moved out there post-college, post like this Europe soccer thing, and then was like, I need to run away to happiness, and I found my way to San Francisco. And then I met my husband there, and then it was just like this really happy 5, depending on when and who you ask, 5 to 7 year stint. And then slowly made it back east. But you're there. Stay strong.
Yes.
Okay, life stories. I just shared a version of mine. We like to start really hearing about the beginnings of Nafeesa, and I often think that we're all kind of like recovering from who we were or trying to get back to who we were. But I was curious just to like hear about because you have this very impressive, high achieving, I don't like the word perfect. It's a meaningful resume and life that you've built. And I was just curious like where it all began in your childhood. Were you always goal oriented? Were you a striver? driven child?
Oh, that's a really good question. So it all began in Vancouver. So,
Mhm.
I had a very pleasant childhood. My parents are from Tanzania, and they, I feel like, worked so incredibly hard to make it to Canada and to give Alia, my sister, and I the like easy sort of childhood that we had.
Wow. Wait, really quickly. Tanzania. Holy
Yeah,
shit. No one said that to me before.
yeah.
When did that were they married? How were did they come together as a couple and they made it? No.
No, no. So in the 70s, a lot of Ismailis, that's our religious group,
Okay.
came from East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, to Canada. And so there's this population of Ismailis in Canada, and my parents met through an event in the Ismaili community. Uh,
Wow.
yeah.
That's fascinating. Do you mind, and we can cut this if not, but do you mind educating me briefly on you said Ismailis?
Yes, yes,
What? Yeah,
Ismaili. Yeah, so
Ismaili.
Muslims are divided into Shias and Sunnis,
Uh-huh.
and Ismailis are a sect of Shias.
Ah, okay. I've heard
Yeah,
the umbrella terms more, but I hadn't heard the
yes,
sex. That's really helpful. Thank you. Okay, so then they've made this significant move to Vancouver and
yes,
makes sense. Yes, so child of immigrants also comes with, well, I don't know. That can be a storyline too.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Your question around like, have I always been determined,
Yeah.
reminded me of growing up. My dad would play these cassettes. This is gonna age me.
I remember them well.
In the car on the way to school and on the way to
Mhm.
field hockey games, we would listen to these cassettes called The Psychology of Winning. Like literally from a young age,
Yeah.
The Psychology of Winning. And to this day, I have all of these quotes and mantras and tools that I use from these like self-help cassettes that I grew up on.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually think it was really ingrained early
Yeah.
on that we have to be determined, we have to have a strong work ethic, we need to be extremely goal oriented. And then I also had the example of my parents, right? Like my dad in particular came to Canada with very little. He washed dishes in the back of a restaurant. He, had the newspaper route, and
Mhm.
then he worked his way up to becoming an accountant
Mhm.
and having his own accounting practice. And that was just a huge example of the Canadian dream.
Mm. Oh, I love that.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, and so I think I've gotten to see firsthand how much that strong work ethic, that determination how far it can really get you.
Yeah. Does knowing him now or looking back as an adult, the psychology of winning, do you know where that fit into what was going on in life at the time?
I think for him, it was always like mind over matter. And he would
Mm.
say this often, like mind over matter, mind over matter. Like, on the way to a field hockey game, I say this because I know you played soccer.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
on the way to a field hockey game, he would make me visualize scoring a goal.
Wow.
Close my eyes and really think, how does it feel? What do I see? Really visualize, right? And this
Yeah.
all came from this psychology of winning, which was like, you have to believe, you have to see it,
Yeah.
you have to manifest it. And I think for him, like, that's what he did, like
Mhm.
he was washing dishes in the back of the restaurant, but like manifesting this like dream of becoming a business owner, this dream of being able to give his kids access to education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your mom up to? Was she listening to other tapes? Or was she also listening to the psychology of winning?
My mom was a legal secretary,
Okay.
and then when we were young, she stayed at home. So I had a
Mhm.
very traditional parents roles,
Yeah.
which sometimes looking back I kind of envy.
Yeah.
They had such
I know.
extreme role clarity.
I know the clarity of roles is helpful as long as
Clarity of
you're like
role.
fulfilled and happy also. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. The clarity of roles. And I actually think I was lucky because yes, she was at home, but she was a phenomenal leader. So now when I look back, a lot of my like operating skill set comes from watching her like operate our household
Oh,
uh
tell me
extremely
more. Tell your
well.
mom more.
I
Yeah, in what way? Do you remember? Was it specific
Yeah.
or general sense?
Yeah. So one, she was just so on top of every detail. But two, I think she led in a very different way from how my father led. And I feel like throughout my career, I've been oscillating between leaning into the way that my father led versus the way that my mother led. So my dad is like fixated on the number, fixated on the goal, and world watch out once he has his mind, fixated on that goal. Like he will run through walls to get there.
Wow.
And I feel like in my early training with like business school and working at Bain in that consulting environment, it was very like eye on the prize, run, run, run.
Yeah.
And then my mom leads with a lot of empathy, with like a very people-centric numbers second approach, where she was just like very attuned to the fact that I am very emotional and actually had a lot of space for me to be emotional as a kid. And I think it's only since becoming a mother that I've realized how impactful that is and that was, and how much that has shaped me to be able to like lean into my emotions and actually consider them a strength versus like, I think if you had asked me early in my career at Bain or in these more traditional business environments, I would have said, oh, like I'm just trying to like shove down the feelings so that I can do the business.
Yes.
But
totally.
now I'm actually like, no, I'm using the feelings to identify new nuances or to understand my customers better or to motivate the people on my team more. I feel like motherhood in particular gave me the permission to use emotion, to use empathy as a strength. Actually, our number one company value is empathy is our edge. And I don't think I would have ever had the confidence to create a business value like that had I not been a mother and seen how actually leading with empathy is what wins when, my child is having a tantrum. Leading with goal orientation goes nowhere, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really, really changed, I think, the way that I've allowed myself to show up at work.
That's awesome. Yeah. Because I was going to say my prior younger self, I feel like we have things we'll catch up on too, but you went to elite Ivy League schools, Stanford also being an Ivy equivalent and if not superior in many ways as business school. You were an athlete also. You went to Bain, which is it's not small potatoes. Robinhood, now CEO. I'm curious, the mind over matter thing is so ingrained in my own. That was how you succeeded as an athlete. Just the examples even that you were talking about. Right. And I definitely tried to bring that into all sorts of achieving after that, whether it's academic or professionally. And then I hadn't thought about it until you brought it up, but I feel like there's something when real life intervenes, which for some people that happens earlier. At minimum, that usually happens when you like deliver a child. Like it's not, there's a moment where it doesn't work that way. Like, was motherhood when that started to happen for you, or when did you start to question that?
Wow, that's such a good question. When did I start to question that? I mean, I think so many times. I think I had to shift from mind over matter to this other nuanced line that my father used to say, which is control what you can control and be laid back about everything else.
Yes.
And it's almost like mind over matter only works in the circle within which you can control. And motherhood for me shrunk that circle.
Yes.
Like it turns out you can't control exactly when you're going to have the baby. You can't control whether it's a C-section or a natural birth. Like you can't control whether you're going to be, in the midst of a tantrum or if bedtime's going to go on time. Like actually, I think the more I try to control my children, the more they push back and the less control I have.
Yes.
And so I really do feel like I had to add this nuance of, yes, it's mind over matter, but only within this circumference of topics, of areas where I do have control.
Yeah, that's so well said. That's incredibly wise. And it's very, very true. It also makes me think, I often reflect on the fact that a lot of being a woman, also I have a 9-year-old daughter who's we're starting to read like puberty books and all these things that I'm like, wow, I forgot like all of this is a thing. And it's
You
just the level, how much stuff just like happens to us
know,
that
yeah.
we don't control
Take.
relative to the average boy, frankly, I think.
Yeah.
And not to not it's not better or worse. It's more just we should also acknowledge how much that we are from such a young age,
Yeah.
there's so much out of our control and so much we
Yeah.
need to kind of figure out how to accommodate and integrate and all these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
really do think motherhood puts that on steroids,
Yeah.
honestly. Like last week we had a low moment in our family where my husband was traveling and my son and I got norovirus.
Oh God.
And and it was definitely a moment of like, can't control this one.
Yes.
I can
Yes.
try mind over matter, but the reality is two of us are throwing up
Oh God.
and my husband's and I here, you know?
Yes.
And it was dark, right? It was
Mhm.
dark. But I think the way that mind over matter showed up is we have this thing where it's whenever we have a positive feeling around parenthood, we will sit with that and feel it deeply, right? My husband came back and I was just like complaining and I was like so upset and I was just like I'm so behind on work. I'm so behind on everything cuz like I had to cancel life for 3 days. And then he was having a conversation with my 2-year-old son and he was like, "Zion, you're such a big boy now, right?" And Zion puts his hand on his hips and really defiantly goes, "No, I'm a mama's boy." And I laughed
Oh.
so hard and was like, "Yes, you are a mama's boy." And that makes me so happy.
Yes. Yes.
And that I'm going to feel that deeply. I'm going to hold this moment deeply. And I'm going to just sort of let the norovirus vomiting
Yeah.
3 days slip behind, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really, really feel like the only way to survive this phase is to be able to just like let the tough stuff go
Yeah.
when you can, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then feel deeply those like little moments of joy, of humor. Cause like kids are funny. They say funny things,
Yes.
you know?
I know. I know. And it's so true because the more that you try to push forward on like hit the agenda items, you
Right.
miss, it's easy to overlook or not enjoy the things that make the whole thing kind of tolerable and worth it and wonderful.
Absolutely.
It's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just quickly going back to mind over matter, college into grad school version of you. I was just
Yeah.
curious if because a very driven resume. Was it obvious? How did you kind of navigate the beginnings of your career? And I also will say
Yeah.
I love and it resonates with me. I feel like you can fill in the gaps on exactly how this played out for you in real life, but it seems like there's this nice sort of tension or an attempt to kind of hold both capitalism and
Oh,
give back to like and social impact, trying to do good in the
yes.
world, but also trying to, I don't know, achieve in capitalist America. So I
I
noticed
think,
that from the life
yeah.
you've built. Tell me more.
Yes. Yes. Honestly, I feel like I have been in every job up until today fighting this tension of I grew up with so much. Like I'm so lucky. I feel so grateful for that. And I think with that feeling of gratitude is also this feeling of responsibility
Mhm.
to give back and to really find the social impact and the meaning. And then the other side of me has this like determination from my father and this like wanting to achieve, right?
Mhm.
And I think what has changed over the years is shifting from allowing others to define what it means to achieve
Mhm.
to letting myself have some leeway on what it means to achieve and letting myself define that. You
How do
know,
you define it?
at what's that?
How do you define it now
Still
for all
working
of
on it.
us?
Still working on it. But I think for me, it's really like the opportunity cost has increased so much, right? To how I spend my time
Mhm.
as a mom. Like I'm
Mhm.
very aware and intentional. Every hour at work is an hour I'm not spending with my kids, who I'm
Mhm.
obsessed with and who I love spending time with, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I need to be finding meaning. I need to be finding joy. And I'm just so lucky right now that at Poppins, I have that because the customer is me and people like me, right? Like the customers are mothers, are parents who need and have the privilege to choose to have help in the household.
Yeah.
And I think I'm so lucky that like achievement in my current job is actually getting more families to pay their household employees the right way. And then the meaning for me is actually very correlated with that achievement, because then the household employees who, by the way, like hold up my household, right? Like there's no way I could be the CEO of a company without my phenomenal nanny, right? And so now with Poppins, we get to promote this whole workforce who I feel like has been historically underrepresented, to say like, actually, they deserve to be treated like real employees because they are real employees. They deserve to be paid like real employees, and they deserve to have the protections of real employees. So I just feel like I've finally gotten the chance to combine my real interest in business with something that I feel like is driving real meaning for people in my life phase, which is really cool to be able to have all of that at once.
Yeah. What was it like to want that and then be working at Robinhood, which is wonderful, dynamic, exciting experience, slightly controversial in some ways. But I'm honestly really curious, as I ask this as someone who is similar maybe, in that I really crave meaning. If I'm going to do the work, it needs to be useful and productive. But also the reality of some of the jobs that deliver the excitement of fast-paced growth with a lot of challenge and around potentially really smart people and excitement. Those two don't always go hand in hand. So I'm curious, like, how did you what's it like to sort of live in a space where you're like, this isn't quite maybe it, but is it okay? It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think you articulated it so well. Robinhood delivered that excitement, that fast growth, the constant learning. I feel like, I was surrounded by such smart people. It was so engaging. It was like almost like an adrenaline rush every day, especially at the beginning, when we were like small and growing and still figuring out if it was going to work.
Yeah.
And then I think after having children, that opportunity cost just increased. It was really like, okay, am I really going to commute 30 to 45 minutes a day to go into an office? And, I started thinking, can I really relate with this customer? And it was harder for me to relate to the Robinhood customer. I mean, I love Robinhood. I'm so grateful for my time there. I feel like I really learned a lot and met incredible people. But when the Poppins opportunity came up, I thought, wow, like what an incredible opportunity to be able to help parents, help caregivers, and be able to run a business. Like, really felt like I won the lottery to be able to do both of those things.
Yeah. How did it all come about? Because were you ready? You had two kids while you were at Robinhood.
I had two children while at Robinhood. Yeah. I really grew up at Robinhood. I got engaged, got married, got a house.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then had two children at Robinhood.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I was very lucky. I had my first kid at Robinhood while reporting to a phenomenal woman. And she gave me so much life advice, but she's actually the one who connected me with Poppins.
That's great. Yeah.
Like such a great reminder of women looking out for women.
Yeah, totally.
Makes the world of a difference, right? Like without her, I would not have found this job and have been in, honestly, such a happy life stage.
Yeah, good for you. Robinhood from the outside seems bro-ish, but was having a child, creating a family, was all of that relatively normal, or was it unique?
It was, I would say both, I, especially with my first, being able to report to a woman was huge. Yeah. She, it's all the little things, right? Like she had this one piece of advice that was so impactful to me. She said, I have this theory, which is the quality of a woman's first nanny is an indicator of a predictor of if a woman will stay in the workforce.
Oh my God. Yes.
And I was like, oh, how interesting. And so she told me, she was like, spend a lot of time and thought on hiring your first nanny.
Yes.
And that was such good advice.
That's
I have
that's gold. Yes.
yeah, exactly, right? And it's like these are the little nuances that you get when you
Yeah. Well, also
uh,
Poppins, you should do research on that with Poppins.
yeah,
I bet it's
exactly.
true. I would say it shocked me. We ended up, did we work with nannies at all was like surprising to me, but we found this unicorn, wonderful, incredible woman. And
Aw.
yes, it kept me at work in many ways.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Same for me, you know. I feel like it was only because, and it's still only because I've had a phenomenal nanny that
Mhm.
I've been able to stay in the workforce and actually enjoy being in the workforce.
Yeah. That's so exciting. And were you in San Francisco already or did you move for this stuff? Okay.
I was in San Francisco
Yeah.
already. So I came to San Francisco for business school.
Mm.
And then shortly after business school, met my husband. Um, we settled down in the Mission and then had my first child in the Mission. And then one day, this is so crazy. One day we came home and there was a homeless person sitting in my nursing chair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, we were like, I was terrified, right? I was
Yeah.
terrified. Thankfully, my baby was not there at the time.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
wow.
but anyways, that is what sort of pushed us over the edge and we moved to the burbs.
That would do it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, poor San Francisco. There's a lot. That's just ongoing struggle in that city.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful,
How yes.
know.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful, layered, so many complexities, and yet so beautiful still.
Yes.
Um, how was your husband also? I'm curious if you were like both in the sort of like striving, building career moment, and then kids come
Yes.
in. There's this famous idea of like the squeeze is like, of course,
Yeah.
at right the time that all of us parents are like trying to like move into this next phase professionally, enter
Yeah.
children, and then it's just like,
Children.
but what is,
Yeah.
yeah, how did it balance across careers between the two of you?
Yeah. So he was at a firm while I was at Robinhood, both high growth fintech companies.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we were leading such parallel careers that at one point we gave an offer to the same person, literally, to join both our teams.
That's
And we
funny.
found out, and we're like, you have to choose between my
Who'd
husband
they
and I.
pick?
They picked me.
Oh, good. Good.
I wouldn't be telling you the story if they didn't pick me. But yeah, we lead very parallel
Mm,
paths in that, we're both ambitious. We both find a lot of meaning from work. He now works at Propel, which is like a fintech app for people on food stamps. So
oh,
sort of
interesting.
similarly in this constant tension of like finding meaning and social impact with
Yeah.
the fast-paced achievement orientation.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think we're lucky in that we've both in this current jobs really found that balance.
Yeah.
Makes it really hard on the home front.
I would think so. Yeah. So what's been your kind of like version of making it quote work? Childcare, nanny, essential. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the first and biggest one is childcare. We just wouldn't be able to do it without our nanny. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
She's the rock of our household.
Yeah.
And then I think the second is like self-forgiveness. We forgot show and tell was on Tuesday. I
Mhm.
felt really bad. And then I
Mhm.
was like, I'm going to have to let this one go,
Yeah. Yeah.
This morning it was like this sort of mass chaos of who was in charge. We forgot to have any role clarity on who was in charge of writing the note for Teachers Appreciation Day.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Right? Like my husband was like, "Are you doing it? Or are you doing it?" And my nanny was like, "Oh, I'll do it." Like
Oh,
mass
yes.
chaos.
Yes.
So all of these moments, right? I feel like we have just had to kind of lower our bar across
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And just forgive
Yeah.
that it's not always as perfect as I thought it was going to be. I think when like I thought having it all, I had this like image of this woman who was so put together. She wore heels.
I know. I'm
So
short. I like
together
heels
and
too.
wearing heels.
Yes.
And, she would show up so stylish to work and then come home and be so present and remember that show and tell and remember that card for the teacher. And I remember this like first meeting I had with our Robinhood CEO after coming back from maternity leave.
Mhm.
It was COVID. So I joined the video call and I immediately saw on my shoulder there was I had spit up just
Oh,
like on my shoulder. And I
good
was
for
like,
you.
this is not the image of that woman in heels. This is far from it.
Yeah.
And I really had to take a moment and be like, having it all is different
Yeah.
than what I thought it was going to be. It is messier.
Yeah.
It is not perfect.
Yep.
I would say the highs are higher and the lows are lower, you
Yeah,
know?
totally.
And that's okay. That's
Mhm.
okay. The only way I can have it all is if I get to own the definition of what it means to have it all. And that's the only way it's going to work.
Yes, absolutely. How did you skip over or do you wrestle with achiever mindset and then whether it's the woman in heels versus spit up or something else that having children shakes up, you move a little bit more towards good enough as opposed to like best ever
Oh,
as the
absolutely.
benchmark.
Yeah.
How did you move through the idea of like, am I therefore failing? Or do you
Mm,
confront the idea of like, I'm failing in some way, work and home?
yeah. I mean, I think this is part of like the lows are lower and the highs are higher. On
Mm-hmm.
my worst days, I feel like I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not a good enough boss. And I'm not a good enough
Yeah.
wife. I'm not a good enough daughter.
Hmm.
Right. And then on my best days, I prioritized the most important thing and I did that and
Yeah.
nothing else, but I did that.
Yeah.
For work, it's the like rigorous, ruthless prioritization. And honestly, I actually feel like motherhood gave me permission to say no, which has been really impactful, actually, really impactful because it actually allows me to spend all my emotional energy at work on the
Mm-hmm.
top most important things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then, same with at home. Like I've decided for myself for this life phase, and I
Yeah.
actually think that's an important nuance, which is like my decision is only for this life phase. It could change in 5 years. That's
Yeah.
okay. For this life phase, I prioritize bedtime. 5:30 to 7:30, sacred. I
Mm.
am present, I am there, and that's what's important. 8 to 5:30, I am present and I'm there at work. And then, depending on if life admin or if work takes over, whatever else will happen after bedtime.
Yeah, totally.
But, I have really made the decision and the clarity that like and gotten to the clarity that 5:30 to 7:30 is sacred and when I miss it, I actually feel like it hurts me more than the kids because I've put so much on the fact that like that is the way I'm going to tell myself I'm a good enough mother.
Mm.
uh
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, so I actually feel like it's more important for me. It's almost like my day's meditation or my day's like yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever consider ramping down or stop? Like, would that ever occur to you? Be like, or maybe your husband, like, do you ever think about like between the two of you or just within your own world, like ramping up and down in different phases or no?
Yeah, I am somebody who just focuses so much on the present
Yeah.
that I feel like at every job, if you had asked me what's going to come next, I would have told you something totally different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like actually in college, I was so confident I wanted to be a psychologist, but I no
Mm.
longer want to be a psychologist, right? And I
Yeah.
think what that has taught me is that like the most beautiful opportunities have come from just being open-minded
Mm.
and saying yes when I least expected myself to say yes. And so I just live in the present and I take every new opportunity as it comes. So like yeah, I think one day I will be a stay-at-home mom for a phase, but right now I don't feel that need because work is so integrated with being a mother, with
Yeah.
with my identity of being a mom that it actually doesn't feel like I have that much separation,
Mm-hmm.
in a good way. Like I was having dinner with a bunch of girlfriends and of course we started talking about, hey, do you pay your nanny over the table?
Yeah.
And if so, why? What made you do that? How did you find your nanny? Right? Like everything,
Yeah.
all my friends are Poppins target customers. And so it's really
Yeah.
just so integrated into my day-to-day life that it doesn't feel like this big stressful decision to
Yeah.
continue.
I find that a lot of the women we speak with who like, we truly, every mom is working, everyone is crushing it. I feel like we're trying to get to this sort of a certain tier of professional, quote unquote, success and achievement where I feel like the stories of how do we also carry our role as parents at that level. And I do think all of almost all of them have found their way into work that feels meaningful, feels purposeful, feels, and some of them where it really does overlap with their identity as a mom or a mother. And I think that's wonderful. I also sometimes think like separation is kind of nice. Like, would it be nice to go off and I don't know, work in gambling, like something totally irrelevant, just to like get out of it a little bit? Do you ever think about that?
That is fascinating. I've never thought about that, but I have actually joked with my husband that the reason why I'm a working mom is because I like very hot beverages. And it's really hard to drink hot coffee around a 2-year-old.
No, it's
like,
funny.
Either it's like on the counter because like something comes up and then I come back to it and I'm like, oh, it's cold again.
Yeah.
Or I try drinking it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared he's going to knock it over and burn himself. So sometimes I really like, I love going to work because I work from home, but I go to my laptop and I have my hot cup of coffee and it's very luxurious.
It is. You know? It's like a micro reset. I was getting ready for someone's wedding, like at one point, and you know, it was so nice to have someone just like gently like put a brush on my eyelids. That wasn't me, you know what I mean? And this woman was like, you know, I read this thing where like moms you just need to lie down horizontally with your feet up for 5 seconds and then you can then you're okay. And I was like, and then I did that throughout that weekend and it really does. I mean, it's not the same as some sort of like full thing, but sometimes my personality is like to go all the way into like, I don't like my job. Okay, I'm going to quit, or I don't like living in the city. We're going to move to the country. You know, it's not like just take a vacation, relax. But these micro moments, I agree. I feel coffee is very important to me for a similar reason. Yeah.
Okay. I have to tell you, your eyeshadow, comment reminded me. I went to my Dartmouth, reunion. And, you know, I went without the children, without my husband. And when I got there, somebody was like, wow, like, wasn't it such a long journey? You had to take 6-hour flight and then like a 4-hour bus and then like whatever. And I was like, I don't think anybody has had more fun in a middle seat in economy class.
Yes.
Like,
I totally agree.
Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I was like, I had candy because you know what's a surprise about motherhood of toddlers? You can't eat candy in peace because they will go nuts around it, right?
Correct.
I watched a movie and I worked because 6 hours is so long.
Yes. Okay, I have an outrageous story on this point that I don't want to absorb too much time, but it's so relevant. Okay, because I couldn't agree more. I was traveling. So my husband had a cool reason to be in London for work. And it was around his birthday. And I was going to bounce out, just me, no kids, to meet him from Boston. All of this is like in a short trip, like 2 nights. And, you know, I get on the red eye leaving London and we're supposed to obviously land at Heathrow. And it's a red eye. So I'm, you know, bleary eyed at like the equivalent of like 2 a.m. Bing. London Heathrow has been shut down. We've been diverted to Amsterdam. And I was like, where am I? What's happening? And then I was even like in that state, I was like, how do you even get from Amsterdam to London? Like, can you drive? Like, I don't even know. And of course, everything is like booked by the time we land. I'm so out of it that I leave my luggage in the overhead compartment, which is like, that's how sort of discombobulated I was. We get out to Amsterdam. The only way, all the flights had been booked up. All the trains are booked up. The only way to get from Amsterdam to London is by driving, which takes somewhere between 12 and 14 hours. Made worse because it's an electric vehicle because we're all trying to save the world. But that means that every 90 minutes we have to stop and charge for like 30. So it turned into this epic 15 hours alone in the back of the seat. And I have to say, it was fine. It was like, I can just sit here, I can dick around on my phone. No one needs anything from me. We're listening to good music and someone else is driving. Like, this could be worse because I totally agree. We just want to be alone.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a couple minutes.
Yes.
The
Yes.
the put your feet up for 5 seconds thing. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have two worky questions that I'm curious about. So many folks that are listening are often, some are in a job and they absolutely adore it and love it. Some are also trying to like figure out for how do we get from A to C or X. I'm curious how you've moved through really impressive roles. How do you think about like your skill set and whether you're like ready and able to do the next job versus thinking about like, well, I know how to do this. Does it actually transfer to this bigger thing? Can I like, am I like, how do you do something? How do you do the next thing that you've never done before and trust that you sort of have the skill set to figure it out?
That's a really good question. I actually feel like early in my career, like Bain was a really feedback oriented place,
Yeah.
very focused on constructive criticism. And at Robinhood, I had the opportunity to manage a lot of different types of people, like from like,
Mhm.
operations folks, compliance folks to business folks, product folks.
Mm.
And one thing I learned across everyone is that high achievers spend so much more time thinking about their weaknesses
Mm.
versus thinking about and really honing in on their strengths. And I started doing that for myself because I
Mm.
saw the positive impact of that on others. I started
Yeah.
thinking about like, okay, I have weaknesses for days, right? We
Yeah.
could go on forever. But what if I identify one key strength and actually think about how that is my superpower and actually work on that even more? And I feel like that is what has gotten me through this fear of trying something new where I've never done it before. So
Yeah.
like for me, like I love managing people. I love hiring people. I love hiring teams. I love building teams. And so, yeah, I had never worked in payroll before, but I feel confident in hiring really great people who understand payroll, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I've never managed engineering directly before, right? But I
Mhm.
feel really confident in hiring great engineering leaders and
Mm.
and motivating them.
Mhm.
So I feel like I what I wish more people did and what I wish I did earlier is actually spend more emotional energy on believing in my strengths versus constantly thinking about, okay, what are my biggest areas of weakness?
Yes. Yes. Not to make it gendered, but it is interesting among my kids. So we have boy, two girls. Boy, completely oblivious to weaknesses. My daughter, who there, she's in third grade, he's in fifth grade, and they do these little like teacher feedback sessions, and she after every time I go back to her, I'm like, here's how awesome your teacher thinks you are, and she's like, did she say what I could work on?
It happens so early.
Always, yes,
It happens so early.
yeah, and there's part of me that's like if it's within a growth mindset of like I'm already
Yes.
awesome, like let me
Yeah.
learn how to be even more awesome. But
Yeah.
there's some wiring that we're like so tuned in to others, how am I perceived, or to them am I enough, and
Absolutely.
I really
Yeah.
want to break that for our daughters, and
Yeah.
for sons that struggle in the similar way. Not It's just
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be the same thing, but yeah.
Oh, I not agree more. I really do feel like I spent 90% of my career to date letting others define success for me, right?
Yeah.
Letting others define what good enough was. And it's only recently that I've said, actually, this is my definition, and I get to be the one who
Yeah.
decides that for myself.
It's so small but so powerful. Like it's like tingly to think about it, like goosebumpy to be like, well, what if I could be in charge? Can you share with the world what your current definition of success is? What are the component parts
Yeah.
compared to what it used to be?
Yeah. I think the first is joy. So
Mm.
it's the example of where my son said that like funny thing. I have the presence of mind to be able to feel and absorb and sit with that joy.
Yeah.
And the same at work, right? Like when I get the that customer feedback that says like, thank you so much for making payroll and taxes so easy for us, or when we hear from a caregiver who doesn't have a job, but because they were paid over the table, they can access unemployment insurance. And, we get these like phone calls sometimes that's like, thank you so much because of Poppins, I can now access unemployment insurance, and I don't know how I would have been able to feed my children without that, right? And so for me to be able to have the presence of mind to sit with that feeling of gratitude, as opposed to just sort of keep going on the fast pace, life, where you're just running from one thing to the other.
Totally.
Like that for me is my current definition of success, is like, can I sit with feelings of joy? Can I find them? Can they happen often enough? And then when they do happen, can I really have the presence of mind to sit and feel that joy?
Yeah. And do you think having kids was essential to reaching, would you say this is a more enlightened view, or would you say I've accommodated my circumstances?
I don't think I had the ability to sit quietly with myself and understand the power of being present before becoming a mother. I actually, like, now looking back, notice that, my father worked very hard, and he came home at 5:30 every day, and he was so present. He made me and my sister feel like we were the center of his universe, even though he had just been at a day of job. And so having kids, I realized that it happened a couple of times where, like, I came home and I brought the work stress home, right? And I realized, you can see it, right? Like when you're stressed, even with babies, like you can kind of see how they emulate your energy. And I realized really early that, like, I need to bring a calm, positive energy into the household. And I actually called my dad and was like, how did you do that? Like, how did you just like come home and be so present? Like, my husband and I are in the same field, so we constantly have this like itch to be like, how did it go at work? What happened with this person? What happened with that? As opposed to just being present and focusing on the children. And my dad had this tip, which I now do every day. It sounds kind of hokey, but he says, touch a plant. Touch a plant before you enter the house. Now I work from home, so I have to touch a plant before I come upstairs from the basement office.
Love this.
But the idea is, you touch a plant. It can be anything.
It's like touching grass. Yes.
And you give all the work energy to the plant. And then you open the door and I'm mom. I'm no longer boss, right?
Yeah.
I'm mom. And I really think all it is the intentional beat. But the line touch a plant is for me the way I remember, I'm transitioning, like take a moment to transition, to give the work energy to something else, and to enter the 5:30 dinner chaos with a presence and an intentionality.
Yeah. I love that, especially with so many working from home too. You don't have the commuter break, basically.
Doubly as important. Because sometimes it's like 5:29 and I'm like on a call being like, okay, I gotta go. 5:30 is coming, and like sometimes touching a plant, I only have 1 second, right?
Yeah. Well, they do. I have to look up the science of it all, but the lack of being able to close out the stress and move into just sort of a different stress mode, but just being on in a totally different dynamic. It makes it really hard to kind of process and let go. So we end up carrying a lot of this stuff over time. It could be the equivalent of 5 seconds with your feet up, but like 2 seconds with a plant, really does give you that, closes the loop a little bit. That's awesome. That's very practical too. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a plant and I'm going to touch it. Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for this. We love ending on these little short answer questions before we let you go, if you can indulge. But okay, so think back to your new mom self, Robinhood mom. Is there anything that you would say to her?
I had this coach who asked me this question, which is, what if it all works out? It's like, oh wow. As an anxious overachiever, I am constantly thinking about all of the ways that it's not going to work out and to plan for that, right? Actually, what if it does all work out?
Yeah.
And why not sit with that question? I wish as a new mom, oh my gosh, breastfeeding was so hard. My C-section recovery was so hard. Like I wish I could have just told that vulnerable woman, actually, what if it does all work out?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I have on my laptop, actually, I have what's the best that could happen as like just a little
Oh,
sticker.
that's the same. Oh,
Same
that's the
thing.
same.
Yes. We're all working through the same psychological trauma. But yeah, it's beautiful and so simple. And it's hard to trust because sometimes I immediately am just like, well, that's such a foolish question.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
Exactly. Like
also,
I would not be a good operator if like I
correct.
didn't plan for all of the like 18
Yes.
contingency plans, right? Yeah,
Yes. Yes. And
it's tough.
then is there anything or maybe a theme of things that would have made sort of motherhood so far, this journey of balance, trying to balance, I hate this, not the right word, but doing all these things at once, anything that would have made it a little bit easier?
I wish I had lived by this mantra of control what you can control and
Yeah.
be really laid back, or better yet, laugh at everything
Yeah.
outside of your control. I feel like over the almost 5 years that I've been a mother, I have been living that mantra so much more. And it has really let me give myself the permission to just let go of some of the stuff that is so challenging and just
Mhm.
say, you know what? It was out of my control that I got so sick and had to cancel that big meeting. I think old me would have really gotten myself caught up on that and been
Yeah.
like, I should have just powered through, or
Yeah.
I should have taken more vitamin C so that I didn't get sick,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But now I'm like, that one was out of my control. I'm going to let it go and I'm going to focus on something else, which I can control, which is the meeting next week,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's so important. My mindset and a lot of us achievers, particularly maybe the anxious achiever type, are every moment you got to win.
Yes.
Otherwise you lose. And it's
Yeah.
like, actually, no, you're
Actually,
already
no.
okay. You could
Yeah.
do a little
Yeah.
bit better. But the baseline is like fine. And I
Yeah.
find little things like being late to a meeting or being slow on a email response or a misspelling. I'm like, oh my God, I go back to zero.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
actually, no. Like,
Yeah. No, no,
it's
no, no,
not the
no. It's
single
fine.
moment. Yeah.
I think the other thing is like, because I grew up listening to this psychology of winning
Yeah.
tapes,
Yeah.
you can define for yourself what winning is. And sometimes in this life phase, winning is taking a nap with my son, cuddled cheek to cheek,
Mhm.
and that's winning in that moment. And
Yeah.
that is okay.
Yes.
And like,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, well, speaking of your son and your two kids, one day they might listen to this and be in awe of their mama's boy. They are. Anything you'd like to say to them?
Oh, I love you so much. And I am so proud of the humans you are becoming. And I'm just so excited to be on this journey with you.
Oh, amazing. And mind over matter. Just kidding.
Never
Just
and
kidding.
work hard.
Nafeesa, thank you. I also should say, and I will say this more in other places, this is not a paid thing, but I do use Poppins Payroll, and it is the kindest service I have ever experienced in any sort of world. Like almost to the
Oh,
point of I'm like, how could they be so they're just so kind. Like I feel like I'm emailing like a friend or like that great aunt that like is always just kind of there for me.
oh, I
It's
love that
really wonderful. It's
so
so easy.
much. That is like really related to what
Yeah.
I was telling you around like the first value at the company is empathy is our edge.
Yeah.
And it's designed that way because by definition, someone who is hiring a caregiver
Yeah.
needs help,
Yeah.
right? By definition, say you're hiring a caregiver for your sick mom, or say you're hiring a caregiver for your firstborn child. It's a vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
And I just so strongly believe that showing up with empathy is the way that we will like help mothers, parents, like household employers all over, like feel seen and then keep choosing us.
Yes, yes. And it's such a human experience to find a caregiver and to care about your children. And it's nice that it's not a transactional AI bot that's like telling me how to solve my problems. Like it's a big emotional investment. So it means a lot to have that sort of like reflected back to you when you're just even emailing Poppins. And you're always so responsive. Anyways, big fan of Poppins Payroll. Everyone choose Poppins Payroll.
Thank you for saying
Yes. Nafeesa, thank you so much. It was so awesome to hear about your story. I'm going to go get a plant, but I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I can't wait until we touch plants later.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Nafeesa.
See you soon.
Yes. Nafeesa, thank you so much. And also thank you for taking the reins at Poppins Payroll, which I do sincerely love. I was not paid to say all the things that I said. It's just lived experience. Okay, quick takeaways. I really loved that conversation because she reminds me a little bit of the Lexi Reese interview that we did a while ago, where she has such a corporate context and like the Bain consulting framework stuff that I find so comforting. First, I sort of similar language from a different entry point, but I find it often comes with very practical advice. But her brilliance is that she can acknowledge the messiness and the emotions and the empathy side of things, as opposed to, as we were talking about in the interview, the like mind over matter. So a few things. I think what you can control is key. And I think her insight that once you become a parent, there are many other ways this could happen, but obviously in this context, once you become a parent, that circle of what you can control really shrinks. And the importance of being able to sort of let the stuff around it go, laugh it off, but like find that little part that you can control and then let the rest go. And focusing on your strengths was another one, just from a little bit more from a corporate working style, but us achievers, which are many of whom are listening, it was interesting for her to say that she observed that these high achievers, we tend to just really go hard on where we could get better and what our weaknesses are. But so much opportunity comes when you can like really harness your strengths and make those your superpower, and you get so much more control over how you navigate your professional life, gives you more confidence and all that jazz. I loved also the idea of like, what if it all worked out? Like, what if it just all worked out? Maybe we could think more optimistically. And I do think that manifests a better outcome. The other piece was defining, this has been a theme, I think, of all of these incredible women, but you get to decide what success is for yourself, as opposed to always needing to meet the standards of someone else, somewhere else that is not you and is not living your lived experience. It's such a powerful thing to be able to do and to hold on to that. But remarkable. You could see Nafeesa actually smiled and was joyful just talking about that, because it gives you agency in a world where the world's not going to give it to you. So you got to take it back. On the parenting side, clearly she has, and I highly recommend this, but embracing the good enough parent mindset, as opposed to needing to expect everything to be running perfectly all the time, just lets us off the hook and is more realistic and is fine. And just choose the moments, be present with your kids when you're with your kids. That doesn't mean everything else needs to be perfect. And to that point, my favorite anecdote, highly doable, very practical: touch a plant after work and before you talk to your kids. I'm going to try this. I'll report back as to whether it really changes the game for me. But especially for folks that are working from home, there's no good transition period between work insanity to the chaos and wonderful and warmth of family life. But having some intentional moment, a signal that says, work me is done, I'm now parent me, mom me, is really nice. It's that micro reset that we all need. And so with that, keep on fighting the good fight. Thank you so much for listening. Like, share, tell the world about us. And thank you for being here with us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and we can reach even more rock stars like you. The Mothers is a production of Backline Media, shining a light on those who carry the team.